It is just a huge honor today to be podcast interviewing Pamela Manwaring. Thank you so much for coming by today.
You're welcome, thank you.
She has a BS in tourism and economic development from Indiana University. That means you're a Hoosier.
A Hoosier.
And they just figured out what a Hoosier means.
Oh,
did you hear that?
Yeah, I've heard plenty of them. What did you hear?
It's not even a joke. It was on NPR.
Oh no!
There was a lady who was doing, the railroad revolution was one of the biggest industrial parts of the Industrial Revolution, and the railroads would lay 5 miles a day. Mm-hmm. So when they were going through a town, they didn't have time to say, "Oh, I'm Howard, you're Pamela." They would just say their boss's name. I'm one of Hoosier's men. And sure enough, a man named Hoosier laid a railroad across Indiana. Mm-hmm. So all of his employees they said, "What's your name?" They would have said, "I'm one of Hoosier's men." Mm-hmm.
Hoosier, yes. I did hear a version of that. So
because I thought when I was growing up, I was Hoosier mama. But it turned out I worked for a Hoosier. Yeah. Hoosier daddy. Miss Manwaring has 20 years of experience within startup and redevelopment capacities for various companies in the entertainment, media, and hospitality industries, where she directly impacted new channel monetization and profit performance. Miss Manwaring held marketing positions with Activision, Mattel, and action performance companies, managing licensed products, and held key business development roles at various ad agencies. Mrs. Manwaring led corporate marketing for an independent collection of boutique and resort hotels and was integral in the development of a hotel asset and acquisition management group. In 2010, Pamela Manwaring ventured out into the entrepreneurial world as a full-time marketing consultant. She also co-founded a wireless technology company in 2011 and continues to lead the company forward as a chief marketing officer. In the community, Pamela volunteers as the program director of the Ahwatukee Chamber Community Foundation's Young Entrepreneurs Academy, a 30-week program that teaches students how to become CEOs of their own companies. Pamela is a doting mother of two fine young men, Kyle and Ryan. That's what we have in common. I have a Ryan too. But your Ryan's 13. My Ryan is, how old are you, Ryan? 24? That's why I look like her dad. And the newest addition to her family is her rescue boxer named Charlie. Born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, Pamela chose to move to Phoenix in 93 after college and then to the Ahwatukee foothills area in 2001. She adores the village of Ahwatukee and the outdoor recreation lifestyle that comes with living nestled in a mountain preserve. Ryan, give me a copy of my book. I want to give you a copy of my book. So my story in my book, when I turned 50, my oldest boy made me a granddaughter, and I'm going to write congratulations, Pamela, on all your success.
Howard, thank you.
Love, Howard. What I realized when I turned 50 was that I had a granddaughter. I always wanted a daughter, and Ryan let me down. He was supposed to be a girl, and then his little brother Zach was supposed to be a girl, and I realized when she was born that my father died at age 61, and my two grandfathers died at 61. I thought,
really?
Hell, when I die at 61, she'll only be 11 years old. And at the time she was born, I was half a century old. I was a dentist, I had an MBA, I had a company, and I thought, I don't know what business Taylor's going to be in. So I took out all the dentistry, root canals, filling crowns, and I wrote uncomplicate business because my dad, we were very poor. They were Catholic. They had 7 kids. But when I was 10, he bought a Sonic drive-in franchise. And we went from being so poor, I did not even know that some houses had air conditioners. I was not aware of this, that people live like that. We moved out into the suburbs, and I can remember at 10 years old thinking, oh my God, a job changes your life. Yeah. I mean, I lived
Kansas?
In Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
It was during the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Kansas took on 10,000 Vietnamese refugees. So when I was 10 years old, I really thought the average American was Vietnamese. I mean, when I grew up, all my neighbors were Vietnamese, African Americans. I had no idea there was these suburbs out there that had air conditioners, and then we moved next door when he eventually had 9 Sonics, So we moved to the nicest area of Wichita called Hidden Lakes Estates, and my next door neighbor is Kenny Anderson, a dentist.
Oh, really?
And I go to the Sonic with the love of my life, my father, and I loved it. But he made hamburgers and onion rings. And then I go to work with Kenny, and he had these x-rays that could see through the tooth and do root canals and crowns. And I remember telling my dad when I was in the 6th grade, Dad, I'm going to be a dentist. He said, well, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. He goes, why would you go to 8 years of college to be a dentist? He says, I got partners like Roger Carpenter, who has 100 Sonics. And in 8 years after high school, his kid's already a millionaire with 5 Sonics. He said, by the time you got to dental school, you could be a millionaire with half a dozen Sonic drive-ins. And I'd say, yeah, I get that, but I don't want to make chili cheese dogs.
Ring your bell.
I don't want to make onion rings. I want to fix these broken teeth. But you're an entrepreneur from the word go, and I'm so proud of you that you have this young entrepreneur. So tell us your journey. How did you become an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. Well, no, I don't think there's any straight line in this path to becoming an entrepreneur, and it's kind of what's an entrepreneur? You know, it's just sort of a label people put on themselves, and if you're not one, it sort of sounds like this ethereal thing. You know, it's a person who, you know, isn't capable of getting a real job or something like that. But
or you're a person you can't work for someone. You're
yes.
Kind of
you don't play well
toy.
with others. Yeah,
you don't play well in the sandbox. So you have to own your own show because you don't play with others well.
Yeah. So you hear all those things, but you know, I think it really started kind of similar to what you're talking about. I mean, your father was a self-employed entrepreneur. My father was a self-employed entrepreneur. I grew up with him working. I grew up in a lawnmower shop, a greasy lawnmower shop with mechanical oil, optimal oil, mixing that with gas, putting it in the snowmobile, the snow throwers, the gas grills, the chainsaws. I know
where in Indiana?
Indianapolis, the northeast side. And my dad was a really hard worker. So was my mom. My mom worked in insurance, more on the corporate side. But my dad had this shop, and he literally lived at the shop. We never saw him. And I remember thinking, gosh, he's missing out on so much, you know. But there's something I really love about what he does, and that he makes his own rules. He has his own shop. He can buy what he wants. He doesn't have to serve a customer who treats him badly if he doesn't want to, etc. Certain things caught my eye when I was young. And so I think that planted a lot of the seeds early on in my life. My mentality that I could do something different than just going to college and getting a job and working at that job for the rest of my life. I think also some experiences in my life contributed early on, beyond just the role modeling of my parents and their work ethic. In college, I had a professor who was a retired colonel, and he handpicked 8 of us from, and it really upsets me because we didn't have technology. I mean, this was, you know, late 80s, early 90s, right? And we really didn't even have email yet. So I cannot remember his name. So it's one of the tasks on my list to go back and find his name. But he handpicked 8 of us to go and serve on the 418th Base Support Battalion, U.S. military base in Frankfurt, Germany, one summer. And that was an opportunity for me to go overseas. And it just blew my mind. It blew my mind. And it was a lot of figure out solutions to your own problems, because things didn't exactly work out the way they were supposed to be according to how it was presented. So we got over there, and there were no sleeping quarters, no place for us, no meal cards, and it was just quite an experience. They ended up putting us in the barracks, and we had to find our own way, and we got to lead the program and move about Germany and travel on the weekends. And it just opened my eyes to the possibility of living anywhere besides Indianapolis, you know? And so, you know, between my parents and the idea of I could live anywhere I wanted to, I really started thinking about, what is it I want to do? You know, what is it I really want to do? And I could go on and talk about the details, but those were kind of the early things that inspired me to become an entrepreneur. I really just went for what it was on my heart, not what I was told I was qualified to do.
I'm 55. I have zero idea how old you are, but I'm sure I'm old enough to be your dad.
No, not quite. I'm 46.
46. I'm 55. So
Yeah.
I'm not old enough then.
No,
I would have
you're
had
not.
been 11.
No.
And growing up Catholic in Kansas, you'd actually have to be 16. That's when I graduated in 1980 at Bishop Carroll High School. 10% of the class was pregnant. But back then, entrepreneurs were all boys.
Absolutely.
So, do you agree with that?
Yeah,
And has
I
it
do.
changed in your lifetime?
You know, that's a really good point. I always felt a little different from girls that I hung out with and in clubs or what have you, because I was a tomboy. I ran around with my dad. I played
But
sport.
let's stop talking about that, because I was at a dental convention in Canada, and they just built a $500 million human rights museum. And Ryan and I went to that museum, and most of the stories you knew: slavery, the American Indian. Ryan, what city in Canada was that human rights museum?
Winnipeg, Manitoba.
And Winnipeg, Manitoba, and you knew about slavery, you knew about the American Indian, you knew about the Holocaust, but I was blown away in the sports section where they had a picture of this woman that, when I was alive, every year would run the Boston Marathon, and here's these 6 fat Boston Irish cops trying to chase down this little marathon gazelle, and they'd body tackle her and arrest her, and she'd show up the next year. And it took several years before they said, okay, we'll let women in. And that movie, I just watched that movie, what was that movie, Hidden Figures, where this girl works at NASA and was a genius mathematician, but she couldn't go to the meetings because the director of NASA said, well, there's no protocol for having a woman go to the meeting. And I'm like, you mean when we were going to the moon, NASA didn't have a protocol to allow a woman to come to a meeting? And
Not only that, she worked long hours, and there was no restroom for her because she was colored.
Oh
So
my
she had to run
God.
across campus. Did you see that? I mean,
I saw the movie, and we had the founder on of the burrito company, and he was
I saw
born
it.
here in 1946 when Phoenix had 65,000 people. Now it has 1.4 million. And I asked him, being Hispanic, if he experienced racism. He goes, I didn't experience racism. He says, I just felt sorry for the black people. He said they had to go to a school across the street that didn't have a cafeteria. And when we left the cafeteria, they were out there waiting after we left to come in and eat because their school didn't have a cafeteria. And when he went to the movie theaters, every movie theater that has a balcony, that balcony was only built for the black people. But back to you, tomboy is really a derogatory name. I grew up with 5 sisters, and Mom would put them in dresses, and they couldn't stand 10 feet of the river, which was not even 100 yards from our house, the Arkansas River. It's called the Arkansas River in Kansas. You go down to Arkansas, it's called the Arkansas River.
I see.
And I could swim in the river, but my sisters couldn't join me because they couldn't get 10 feet of the edge because they were in dresses. And they would be in trouble if they got their dress dirty, but Mom would iron patches on the outside of my knee. And so I see tomboy, it was a very derogatory term, because basically what they're saying is you're supposed to be a girl,
Right.
and you're acting like a boy.
Right.
So when they say you're a tomboy, it's really like you're not being right. You need to be different.
I mean, I see where that comes from, and probably when it was, early on, maybe before my time, it was more derogatory. I didn't necessarily take it that way, but I knew that I was a little bit different because I did. I hung out with my dad. I enjoyed the things he did. We went fishing. We'd shoot guns. I mean, I enjoy all of that. And most girls aren't out doing that. It's not that they don't enjoy it. They just were maybe
Not
wearing
exposed to
dresses
it.
on the sideline
Right.
instead of swimming in the lake or the river.
My dad bought me a 410 shotgun when I was 10, and that same Christmas, my sisters got Barbie dolls. So I got a lethal weapon, and they got dolls.
My sister and I got a go-kart. And so, those were the, things that made in the shop that made my dad happy.
Go-kart, Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So you were a big, did you ever get to go to the Indy 500?
Oh, yeah. I grew up on the infield, that's not even a thing anymore. The infield used to be like the thing, It was a crazy time. I remember when I was very young, and my parents would go.
What do you think of that race?
Oh, I love open wheel racing. I love IndyCar racing. I love the experience.
What's open wheel mean?
Open wheel, it means just literally the wheels are out in the open. So it's the Formula One cars.
Yeah.
Which are different than.
But it was dangerous for you to be in that field. I mean, you shouldn't take your little girl to that field because if that tire comes off, it's going to eat someone alive.
Well, you know, it was different.
People
times.
have died.
It was different
How many
times.
people
I
have
know.
been killed by
I
a
know.
wheel from Indy? How many?
But I don't know the answer to that
But
question.
a few.
But yes.
I mean, I've seen a few over 55
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
I saw one wheel go through a chain link fence like a hot knife through butter. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And when you grow up in the area, it's part of your life. It's part of the fiber of who you are, and it just the smell of the whole area and that time, and the flags everywhere. And as teenagers, you go and work out in the catered tents, and you get to talk to people and meet people, and just be part of that winner circle action. And it's a really exciting event, and it still has a huge following, and it's still there in Indianapolis. So
what was going on in your journey? How'd you get from being a Hoosier daddy all the way to Ahwatukee? How did that happen?
That's a good
question. Did you get on a bus and got off of the wrong stop?
No, not quite. I actually chose to come out here. Back to that Europe story. I had even before that, I had started in college in dance. And
really?
Yes, as a dance major. I was on a traveling dance team, competitive dance team. Back to the tomboy thing, I still was a very, that was my athleticism coming out, and sort of my feminine side. I got to dress up and perform at Disney and pacer half times, etc. Well, anyway, so I come to the realization that I'm probably not going to make, the living I want to make dancing. So as a dance major, so. I then chose exercise science, and I was going down that path, and that was at Ball State University. So I transferred down to Indiana University because I really didn't like Muncie much, and I wanted to go to a Big Ten school. It was on my bucket list. So once I transferred, my dad was pretty cut and dry. You have 4 years. This is it. So I had to get creative and figure out solutions early on, like, what am I passionate about doing? What could I do if I can't do exercise science? Because you needed to do pre-med, and the only, equal major there was physical therapy. So it was a whole different course, more time and money than I had. So I had to come up with a solution. So that's when I went after the tourism and economic development. That's where that professor selected me and others to go over to Europe. That opened my eyes, right, to traveling. So when I came back, I had 1 semester to finish, and I graduated in December versus my peers my age were in the spring. And I decided at that point, tourism in Indianapolis was really limited.
Well, you have the Indy 500.
Well, we do have big events, right? And it's all about sports. And
Dave Letterman, Ball University?
Ball State.
Ball State.
Yeah.
Is that the most famous guy from Indiana?
Probably one of the most. I mean, Michael Jackson was Gary, Indiana.
Right.
I mean, I think he's pretty famous.
My mom and I, that is one thing we just have to agree to this. She thinks Frank Sinatra was the greatest singer, songwriter, and musician of all time. I'm like, Mom, I've been to 50 countries, and I always see him playing Michael Jackson. I've never seen anybody in Brazil, India, and China playing Frank Sinatra. And she just says, we have to agree to disagree. Yeah. But yeah, he was the single greatest ever. Musician, songwriter, artist.
Creative.
Nobody. I mean, even when Prince died, I mean, I loved Prince, but
Prince too, yes.
Prince wasn't on the level of MJ.
No. Mm-mm.
I mean, Prince was Prince. I put Prince higher than Frank Sinatra.
I'm with you.
But he wasn't on the level. I mean, I have seen little boys with boom boxes doing the moonwalk in Brazil, India, China, Kathmandu, Nepal. That guy. In fact, I saw one study that more people knew who Michael Jackson was than who Jesus Christ was.
Wow.
I mean, when you go to Hindu
really
and Buddhist countries
impressive.
where there's not a church on every corner.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing. But anyway, I'm sorry.
No. But on that point of Michael Jackson, I love Michael Jackson.
Do they have a museum in Gary,
growing up in
Indiana?
the 80s, dancing on competitive teams, do you know how many bad outfits I have, literally, and routines to Michael Jackson I did? So fun.
You were in dance. Do you know Kimberly Lewis, who has
Yes,
the dance
I was
studio?
just going to tell you, she's got to come on here. She's a good friend of mine, and she is absolutely a pillar in this community.
Did you know that I was the one who taught her how to dance?
No.
Okay, I just thought.
That can't be true.
Yeah, she learned.
Have you ever seen her dance?
She learned from a short, fat, bald guy. That's why she's so good, because she had to correct all. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway,
she's awesome.
So you started in dance.
So interesting. Michael Jackson was a huge part of that journey for me. And on the team I was on, they were nationally located out here in Mesa, Arizona. And so that was my first experience coming out to Arizona. From the Midwest, people east of the Mississippi go to Florida to vacation. Everybody west comes to Arizona or California. And I'd been to Florida,
So where's Indiana? You said east of the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So Indiana's east of the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. Northeast,
So they go to Florida.
It's right there between Illinois and Ohio.
Yeah.
So when it came time to decide what I wanted to do after college, I had a wonderful experience of visiting Arizona, and I was looking at tourism markets and where could I really maximize my opportunities, like what makes my heart sing. And I looked at all of the markets around, and I said, it's Arizona. I want to go out to Arizona. So I packed up my Volkswagen Jetta with my entire life. And my sister and I drove out and slept in my car in Vegas in a parking lot, and then made our way down here. And my best friend came out here, and we knew no one, and we got an apartment over at Papago Fairways over there on 52nd Street in Van Buren.
Wow.
We thought the McDowell Buttes were, so beautiful, and we wanted to live there. And that's where my journey here started in '93. To answer your question.
So you thought that tourism would be bigger in Arizona than Indiana?
Yeah, I just saw more.
And I was trying to remember what Arizona, when I moved down here, it was known as the 5 C's. It was cotton, copper, climate. What were the other 2 C's? Ryan, can you find the 5 C's? It was cotton, copper, climate, citrus, oranges and all that. Oh, cattle. So and obviously, if you look at other markets like Indianapolis, Albuquerque, Denver, Phoenix boomed. So you and I both picked the right city.
We did.
And so what really attracted you?
Well, I just saw the opportunity.
Which one of those 5 C's? Was it copper, cotton, climate, citrus, or cattle?
No, I think it was sunshine and vacations.
Climate?
Yeah. I guess so, climate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And really just looking at the resorts and, the outdoor lifestyle, and just I was drawn personally to the market first for my own personal reasons. And then I knew there was a strong emerging tourism market. And so but I had no job and I had no plan. I just drove out here.
So you're fearless.
Well,
you're a fearless tomboy.
I
when you
think,
should have been a scaredy little girl in a dress.
Yeah, I think so, huh?
So your parents raised you wrong.
I don't know. I think they actually did a pretty good job considering the circumstances. But I think it's circling back to your, how did you become an entrepreneur? I think very young, I wasn't really told that I couldn't do anything. I was actually told I could do whatever I wanted to do. And I had an equal amount of curiosity and courage, because I got that from my dad, because he took me out to shoot guns, he took me out to do boy things, and taught me that I could be tough and I could stand in line. And I won the bass fishing tournament at Maywood Lake one Labor Day weekend, and beat out all the old guys, and got to go in, and I picked anything I wanted out of the tackle shop, and it was a deep sea fishing pole of all things. So one day I wanted to go. Well,
you were a pioneer. When I got out of dental school 30 years ago, there were just a couple of girls in the class. Now Arizona didn't have a dental school. Now there's one in Mesa, one in Glendale, and half the class is women. So you, I feel sorry for young girls graduating dental school, because there's hardly any girl dentist my age that can mentor them. They say things like, how come every time you go to a dental convention, all the courses are taught by old grandpa, fat, bald men? Where are the women? And it's like, they really weren't.
You're trailblazing now.
Yeah,
you are that woman of the future.
And so what would you say to some girl right now? She goes to Desert Vista or Mountain Point and she says, I want to be an entrepreneur. What would you say to her?
I would say, do it. Do it with all your might.
But it's more safe to get a job at Costco, and they have dental insurance and medical insurance, and isn't it just so much safer to get the guaranteed job Monday through Friday to 5 than go be an entrepreneur?
Well, you can do both.
You can do both.
Who says you can't do both? You can do it all. I really believe that. To answer the question, what would I say to a young lady or a young gentleman at Desert Vista or any middle school is consider joining the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. That is the place to go.
Ryan, is there a website for that? What is the website for that? What is it called?
You can go to yeausa.org.
Okay, say that again. I'm slow. YUSA.
yeausa.org.
yeausa.org. And what is that?
Okay, it's a national program for middle and high school students and teaches them how to become the CEO of their own company. And it was started in 2004 in Rochester, New York, and it's in over 100 locations, 38 states, and India.
And India.
It is a program that is in sponsorship with Sam's Club and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Young Entrepreneurs Academy and a lot of other players, Phil Saunders, because they truly believe that the future of our economy depends on young entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial skill set and mindset to make jobs and keep our economy strong. So this program was deployed through a licensing model, and it happens at the local level with chambers of commerce, economic development councils, startup groups, wherever it makes sense. So, the classes are usually hosted on a local college campus, and it's a 30-week program that teaches students how to come up with a viable business idea and to think about what their talents and passions are and their skill set. You know, what really makes their heart sing. And then what ideas do they like? What are they interested in? Do they like technology? Do they like perfume? Do they, what is it that they get really excited about? And then we teach them how to intersect those ideas and how to do research to determine whether it is a viable business idea to move forward with. Then we take them through a phase and teach them how to write a complete business plan from start to finish. We bring in mentors from the community. The local business community is outstanding. They do remarkable things with these young entrepreneurs. They come in and mentor them one-on-one, help them with their business plans.
That's them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're on Twitter at YeaUSA, YEAUSA, and I'm on their website right now, Yay. So continue, sorry to interrupt.
Yes, no problem.
YeaUSA, YEAUSA.org. Wow, I was not aware of any of this.
I'm so glad I'm here.
Wow.
And so for you and your viewers, and after the business plan, the neat thing that we get to do with them is help them create a PowerPoint presentation of their business plan. And basically it's an investor deck, a pitch. And we put together an investor panel that is like a Shark Tank event. And these students get to come, they have 5 minutes to present their business idea and their plan and their financials to a panel of investors who they invest money into a pool that is then awarded to the students based on the merit of their performance. And then the students go back with what they're awarded to help start up their business. They retool their business plan, and we help them take them through the legal setup and the launch of their business. And so throughout the program, we take them on 6 field trips to different types of businesses, tech shop, like a maker studio. We've been over to Arizona Grand Resort, where you can see all aspects of hospitality, kind of a personal favorite of mine. There's catering, beds, rooms, the Oasis Water Park, there's villas, there's F&B restaurants, a full service spa and salon, a 18-hole championship golf course. There are a lot of things going on at that property and back of house, and a lot of different P&Ls and businesses, and to manage in the business of fun. You wouldn't suspect, as a student looking from the outside. So we take them on these field trips, and they get to see and talk to business owners. And the whole process is really experiential, and it brings it all together for them at a very young age, so that they've got those, not only some hard skills, but the soft skills on learning how to talk to others, learning how to communicate via email, learning how to build a network, learning how to get involved with the Chamber of Commerce and other business folks and go to a Toastmasters meeting and exposing them to those things very early on so that they have this really strong foundation as they go to college and enter the business world. And they don't have to wait until they're done with college to start a business.
You know, you started out talking about how lucky you were to go to Germany and how that was a game changer for you.
It was.
And I see so many people in Ahwatukee that say negative things like socialized medicine. That I don't want so. And it's like, have you ever been to Denmark and Sweden and Norway and Finland? Mm-hmm. These are greater countries than America. America's number one in self-esteem, military, medicine, insurance, banking, finance, movies, and music, but they're not number one in everything. And I think
the way they take care of their families, their culture, their lifestyle, I almost didn't come back. And there's a whole story to that. It was just, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. They do not overwork. It's actually, looked down upon, or almost a crime if you are going to overwork your people. Nobody is overworked. Everyone is guaranteed childcare and family medical leave. You take care of your family and then you go back to work. You vacation a minimum of 6 weeks out of the year. I mean, these are like your standard rights,
And the number one cause of personal bankruptcy in America is a medical bill. And in Australia and Sweden and Norway, it's not. And another thing, you mentioned Shark Tank. I think one of the greatest things about Shark Tank is that they got women on there. They got Lori Greiner, born in 1969. They got Barbara. What's Barbara's last name? Barbara. There weren't, when I was little in Kansas, all the women covered. I grew up Catholic. They all covered their head. It seemed like every time I saw women together, they were praying rosaries, saying novenas, but there were no women priests. There were no women who owned Sonic Drive-In franchises, Pizza Hut, Burger Kings, and it's really changed. And then I look around the world, and it's a race. But we're talking right now where, as a dentist, there was a woman dentist. I cried. A woman dentist that we all knew of was killed because she was caught by ISIS treating a male. And women dentists aren't allowed to treat males. They're totally separate. And she was a woman dentist, and she couldn't drive a car, and she was killed because a little boy came in pain, and she treated her. So women's rights issues,
I'm so very lucky to live.
Oh my gosh. I mean, could you imagine being in a country where you're a woman dentist, you can't drive a car, and then you end up killed in the line of duty because you were treating a boy who was in pain?
No, I can't.
I mean,
and nobody gets to choose where they're born. So I look at it like, if I was so blessed to be born here and those bad things are happening, I have to do what I can to help prevent those bad things from happening in the future. Whatever I can do with whatever means I have here in little Tukeetown, And so that's really why I stepped up to volunteer as the program director for this Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Wow. I really believe wholeheartedly
how do people listen to you, connect with you on this?
Well, I hear throughout the year.
What is the website for Tukee?
Gosh, I wish I had known about this, because the open enrollment window is now, and it's only one time a year, and it's through October 4th. You can apply online at yeausa.org.
But when you go to yeausa, is there a / for Ahwatukee, or
no? It'll just take you. I'm just trying to simplify it. Yes, you would go onto the website and students apply today.
Apply today. So
the students tab.
yeausa.org. yeausa.org. Hit that little. What do you call that? Right, the hamburger. So that if you're old and senile. Those 3 hash marks, they call it the hamburger icon, which is the menu. There you go.
It's the little brochure.
Ideas that make everyone say yay. Young Entrepreneurs Academy, yay, helps young people embrace their passion, live their dream, and change the world.
This was our class last year. They were remarkable young people, very bright.
They're such
from all over the East Valley, and
they're babies. How old? How old is that little boy?
He's in. Well, this year he's in 8th grade. Adam Stewart, and he is the CEO of Figure Makers, and he's creating customizable action figures.
And where does he live?
He lives in Ahwatukee.
Oh my! Well, get him on the show.
I would love to invite some of our students
back. How many of these are from Ahwatukee?
About half of them.
Well, we have a big table. Why don't you do another show?
I would love that.
And bring those kids.
I would love that.
And we'll get it out there before the deadline, October 4th. This is only, what is this? September?
It's September 23rd today. It's 22nd.
And the deadline's October 4th?
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah. And it is a highly competitive application process.
You want to bring all these kids back?
I would love to.
When you were saying young entrepreneurs, when you're 55, I think young entrepreneurs is a senior Desert Vista or Mountain Point. I didn't know you were talking about 8th
middle
grade.
and high school students,
Holy
11 to 18 years old.
Holy
and
moly.
Anybody who is interested in learning about business, thinks this sounds kind of cool, might be interested, who has a business idea. We have 2 information sessions coming up at the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce next Tuesday, September 26th, and the following Tuesday, I believe that's October 4th, and it's at 6 p.m.
So who are these other people? I see Pamela Manwaring. Have you heard of her?
That's me.
Have you heard of Linda Bishop?
Yes, Linda Bishop is fantastic. She runs the Yay Academy up in North Phoenix. And she was president of NABO, a highly dynamic woman.
NABO?
Yes.
What's NABO?
It's a women's organization.
And then you have Stephanie Bermudez?
Stephanie, yeah, she is the program director down in Tucson.
And you have PJ DiGaudio. I assume that's Italian.
I haven't met PJ yet.
In Lancaster. Oh, these are other cities.
Yeah. So something really neat is that there is a national competition after the investor panel. Investors do select one student from each academy to go to the Saunders Scholars Finalist competition, and that is in Rochester, and it's in May. And all of the regions across the country, the students come and compete against each other, and they get down to 3 finalists, and they win like $30,000 in college scholarships, Sam's Club, and Southwest Airlines, and all the big sponsors, bring in lots of prizes and donations, and it's a really neat experience to be part of. So, and a lot of these students have been featured on Shark Tank, and in Entrepreneur, and CNN and USA Today. I mean, they're running legitimate businesses. I've got a fella from Arkansas who started a company called RecMed, and he's 14 years old, and he just turned down an offer for $30 million for his company because he has a higher valuation and he's going to hold out for it. And he created.
And he's 14.
He's 14 years old. Yes.
Holy
he created
moly.
a kiosk for first aid supplies that you would put at the ballpark or a mall or an amusement center. And he has a soft order for 100 units from Six Flags at $5,500 each. So yeah, he's one of those, in the top 10% that have these outstanding stories and have started more than one business even and are doing well, generating revenue. There's a young gal who started a lacrosse equipment company, and she was featured on Shark Tank, and she just generated over $1 million in sales last year. And so these young people are young adults. There are leaders of tomorrow, and they're doing amazing things today through this program. So I would encourage anyone to apply.
Is this your
card?
card?
Information session. It is.
Can they contact you?
You can contact me. My email is yayahwatukee@gmail.com. That's YEA Ahwatukee@gmail.com.
And YAY stands for Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And is it part of the Ahwatukee Chamber Community Foundation?
Yes, thank you. I was just going to bring that up. So this program is offered through the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce, and the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce has a community foundation for which this program is offered and has oversight through.
You know what? I didn't join the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce.
Why?
I wouldn't join any club that would take me as a member.
Oh, well, maybe you should reconsider. I think you're pretty remarkable.
I'm just kidding. That's a dumb. That's a Rodney Dangerfield joke. He said I would never join a country club that would take me as a member.
That's actually good.
I still okay.
I should go back and watch.
So they can email Yay Ahwatukee.
Yes.
Ahwatukee
@gmail.com. But you can also contact the local Chamber of Commerce at Ahwatukee. Lindy Let's Cash is the CEO, the president and CEO of the chamber.
Who's that?
Lindy Let's Cash.
Well, you should have her come on the show.
I would absolutely love to. She's out of town right now. And so you asked me if I wanted to come on Saturday and talk about being an entrepreneur in my business. So I did. And here we are talking about Yay. So it all works out in the end.
That is so cool.
I will bring Lindy back. I will bring the students back if you offer us the opportunity to do so. I would be so honored to do that.
Well, you know what? It brings up, this is, I call it Ahwatukee Uncensored because I don't want to talk about anything that anybody else talk about. In the media, why we started Tukeetown is because the media is a business.
It is.
And with all the people not subscribing to newspapers and magazines, they've had to cut costs.
Right.
So they're all trying to get you to focus on the low-cost stories like Putin and Hillary and ISIS and what you see. They don't have the money.
Yeah.
They don't have the money to have someone cover Desert Vista, Mountain Point, the city council, the 202 freeway, the golf course deal.
Well, I have to tell you, it used to really be that way. I mean, that Ahwatukee Foothills newspaper, it was like, I think they stopped it for a period, and the market dropped, and then it came back maybe once a week or a monthly, and now I actually think that what you just said, I have been completely moved by a rock solid reporter who has come to market in town and who is doing a phenomenal job of covering all of those things in the Ahwatukee Foothills News, and his name is Paul Mariniak, and I would love to connect you with him. Paul is a dynamic man.
How do you spell his name?
It's Paul, Paul.
That's my little brother's name. Big shout out to Paul.
Paul
who turned 30
is fantastic. Happy birthday,
how do you
Paul.
say his last name?
Mariniak, Maryniak, I believe.
Mary Niak.
Right.
Mary, like Mary. Niak.
It took me like a week to figure out how to say it, but it's Mariniak, I believe is the correct way to say it.
Huh. Do you know his email off the top of your hand? Or?
I will send it to you.
Okay.
Paul is fantastic. He covers everything local Ahwatukee.
What is he?
Every topic. Even, you want to talk about the districts, the council people, the freeway, the golf course, the farm, the whatever is happening that people are talking about. The foothills, the good, the bad, the ugly.
I wanted to say something, but it's Ahwatukee Uncensored about I totally think that people who you're born into a tribe. You didn't pick. You said you weren't picked where you're born. So when you look at your language, religion, I mean, you were born into that. If you would have been, my two oldest sisters are Catholic nuns. I tell them if they were to have been born in Saudi Arabia, they'd be Islamic.
Right.
They'd speak. If they were born in Iran, they'd speak Farsi. So where you're born, so getting out and traveling around the world is so huge. But one of the things I feel so disadvantaged is do you remember that talk show host, female, that it turned out her stuff was being made with child labor in Asia? Mm-hmm. What was her name?
I don't remember.
Did you remember that? Who was that really famous? I
remember the story.
Who was that really famous Ryan daytime lady? But anyway, I've been to those countries, and it's like, it's kind of arrogant to apply the United States to Asia, because I've been to those countries where dentists in Asia Kathy Lee Gifford, where when those industries were shut down, those little kids then lost their job to make money to eat. So then they went back to their old ways, which was scavenging the dump. Mm-hmm. So you in Ahwatukee said, well, you shouldn't have a 10-year-old working a sewing machine. Right. So you fire her, and now she's crawling through garbage looking for food. So it's kind of arrogant to sit here. And I thought the most... so my dad owned a Sonic, and he hired... me and my 5 sisters and any of our friends when we were like 10 years old. So me and John Lees, after school, nobody could get a job because you had to be 16, because other people smarter than us knew that you should just be sitting at home when your parents don't get off till 5 and get home till 5:30. And I look back at I learned the business of dentistry by having a job at a Sonic with my dad. And today, me and John Lees are both dentists. And we worked for my old man at Sonic from age 10 to 20. And minimum wage
You had the
was
bug.
like $3 an hour, and he paid us when we started at 10. At the end of the shift, we got a roll of pennies, and after a year, we gave us a roll of nickels, and then it went to a roll of dimes, and then it went to a roll of quarters. But we would have done it for free because you got hamburgers and Cokes, and there were these beautiful car hops. But watching management, what role models, watching a manager and watching how he makes change and deals with an upset customer and checks in a delivery for meat and produce. And I actually think that the minimum wage laws are evil. I mean, so you're telling me you're in middle school and you get out at 3 and your mom doesn't get off till 5 and you don't know who your dad is, but McDonald's can't hire you for $1 an hour. I mean, do you want to go home in your apartment and be alone?
I agree.
Or see this magnificent institution, publicly traded management systems? I mean, to get a job at Subway, you have to get on your computer and watch 8-hour-long videos and pass a test. And what is the school teaching them? Algebra and trig and geometry, which has no life skills at all. But he could get off at 3, and McDonald's and these people would hire him if some person who thinks they're so smart. And that's why people don't like government, because like when someone in Washington D.C. is telling a Kansas farmer how to plant his wheat or his soybean or his corn, I mean, every incident I grew up, it's like, you guys aren't that smart. You think you're so smart, but like in dentistry, every idea that's come out of Washington, D.C., every single dentist is like, are they out of their mind? And it's like, they are out of their mind. And I wish the minimum wage would be abandoned. Just so young. I mean, you got a kid.
My son Ryan, I am so happy about this. And
well, my son Ryan's better than your son Ryan.
Well, he's been here much longer, so I can't argue with that. But my Ryan is... He is hungry for a job. One of his peers at 14 got a job at McDonald's. I don't know what he's doing, but they think that is the coolest thing and they want to work. So they all got together and they have gone through training to be umpires. And they all get gigs and they're umpiring these pee-wee baseball games. And my son's never played baseball. He just wants to do it. He wants to be on the field. He wants to make some money. He wants to be around those older mentors and learn to. I mean, he's drawn towards it naturally.
How old was that kid that you said you were going to bring over? How old was that one?
Adam, I think, is probably 12.
12, and it's against the law for him to get a job.
It is.
What is wrong in society? I mean, Gandhi said, idle hands is the work of the devil.
It is.
And in America, it's against the law.
Well, because we're all so afraid to make the wrong move, say the wrong thing. Everybody's suing everyone. You can't let your kids go outside and play anymore. I let my son run to the park, and I have a handful of parents who think things about me or make some innuendos about, but I still feel like, you know, my degree was under the School of Recreation, which people, you know, can laugh it off, but recreating, going out and playing, solving your own problems, learning to work with others, you know, working yourself out of a situation, getting some street smarts. I mean, I'm not saying make bad choices, but have free will and learn to move about in the world. And through play and through socializing and hanging out with your friends, it's where these things happen. And so the more we hold on tight to our kids, you know, and keep them structured and in all of these different programs where they're not really being free thinking, free will, playing, you know, I think it's kind of along the same lines of, you know, well, we can't have people working too soon. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. So part of being an entrepreneur is breaking down all of those things. You know, you just know fear. You have got to be fearless. You have got to be courageous. And when you're on your hands and knees and you're just, you know, it's not working, you're frustrated, you're alone, there are people naysaying, you know, it's a long and lonely road sometimes, but it's from those times, having that job at Sonic at a young age, having that imprinting is really what gives me the ability to move through those times and to survive in a startup world for 7 years where most people are done into. I agree with you. It's
the helicopter parent. The helicopter parent. They're
I
going
was
to
one with my
hover
first child.
over a helicopter and make sure the kid never falls down. Nothing ever goes. Just totally protected. And it's amazing when you look at the all the companies that have gone public in the last 20 years. The majority were not born in the United States. So this greatest country in the world isn't really making entrepreneurs as well as India is.
Right.
I mean, the school of hard knocks seems to make more entrepreneurs than the land of helicopter parents.
We're all one world now. I mean, there are really no borders anymore with technology, and and the younger generations they're more connected than they ever were globally. With having these devices, and they have access to information, and so I think that it's imperative that we raise our young people up to not only have STEM skills, but have the soft skills to go out and have some street smarts and solve some problems.
I'll donate a copy of my book to any of your members.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And because that's writing a book is like having a child, and the love of that book came to me writing it for my granddaughter. And I didn't know
I'm honored. Thank you
be a
so
dentist.
much.
I didn't know she would own a restaurant. I didn't know what she would do. That was my heart and soul for a year, giving this message to Taylor.
Especially this is your first book.
Well, I've written books for dentists,
right?
But that was my first book for non-dentists, and it was Uncomplicated Business. But so what do you do? This is your volunteer. You spent the whole program talking about all your volunteer with the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. What do you do professionally?
We could talk about that a little bit. I do a little bit of everything. I label myself as a marketing consultant. I help people solve their challenges with their business, whether they need to grow their business, or they need to restructure some things, or they want to create a new product, whether it's technology or a consumer product, research. I pretty much take on any project that makes sense for me, where I know that I can add value. And really through word of mouth is where I get connected to a lot of folks.
We're a podcast.
Yeah, precisely. And so my primary focus over the past 7 years really has been through that role. I ended up partnering up with a fella I worked with about 20 years ago at Activision, and we started a small game company, built a software platform, talk about native code, 2 patents on that, a 3rd pending, and we decided that we could take that further into a solution in a portable hardware unit and provide streaming entertainment or streaming content from that device to local environments where it's challenging to access connectivity, if you will, such as those environments would be like an airplane or a bus or a yacht, maybe even some continuing medicine stuff. I can show you something I'm working on now. But I've been in software and hardware, and I'm working in aviation right now, and I'm doing things I've never done before. I've never dreamt I would do. I'm the person who has the courage to do the research and find the opportunity and say I'm going to go after it, and pick up the phone and start calling, executives at charter companies and airlines and talking to them about what we're doing and what their needs are, and see if we might have a solution for them for entertainment. And so that's kind of my little shtick with that business, Startle, right now.
Who might be listening in Ahwatukee who owns a business or who would need you professionally?
Any product or service business or enterprise that needs some sort of assistance, where even it's just another body, but they don't have the budget for an FTE, and they need some assistance with strategy, maybe annual reports, business development, a little bit of sales, marketing plans.
You could be a business consultant for a small family business to a large business.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've worked in corporate America. I've worked in mid-size and small-size companies, service entities, and products. Marketing is marketing.
How would they contact you for that?
Well, you could reach me on my cell phone via text or call at 602-515-3800, or you could send me an email at pamela@hmmtoday.com.
And what is HMM Today? What is HMM?
That's short for Happy Medium Marketing. That's
So
my
it's
business
Pamela at hmmtoday.com, and your phone number was 602-515-3800.
That's correct.
And you could do, so you said they don't have an FTE, a full-time equivalent. Mm-hmm. So if they own a business, but they need some help, but they can't hire a full-time,
Right.
then...
Often, companies that are looking for more senior level folks but can't afford them or can't afford to hire a big agency, I like to say I'm a one-person little boutique shop. So if there is a need for design, if there is a need for something technical, I have people all around the valley that I call on, and I create those customized solutions where they don't necessarily need to pay to retain those people. So,
how long have you lived in Ahwatukee?
I have lived in Ahwatukee since I think about 2001.
So a long time.
Yeah.
17 years.
Yeah.
Lots of businesses come and go in Ahwatukee. Why do you think the turnover in small businesses is so high?
Oh,
Where do you think they went wrong? Because I know some of those people, and they've been in this front room right here and cried because they lost their business.
Lose everything.
And how what do you think? Why do you think they do that? And what do you think you could do to help someone listening that has a small business in Ahwatukee from losing it?
Well, it is true that a lot of small businesses fail. I mean, it's a fact. There's no one answer to that question, but I certainly think that sometimes when you're in a small business, you get overwhelmed, and you don't necessarily have all the skills required to continue to move the business forward. And whether it's keeping an eye on where things are going technologically, where the customer is tending toward, or food margins are running, skyrocket, and your people you need some people management, you need some upskilling, or whatever the issues may be. It's really being able to identify them. And so sometimes it's just really nice. I'm not good at identifying my stuff. I need people to help me. I'm great at helping others, but I call on people to help me. And so when it comes to business, it's nice to have somebody sit down and sort of just kind of give you, listen to what your needs are, where your pinch points are, and to kind of do a needs assessment and give a real 360 on what you see as could be some of the issues they're facing, and help them get there. And if it's not me, I say I'm not the person, but I am going to connect you with this person, and this company, because I know that that's what you need.
So you're a problem solver and a networker. You just get her done.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's another problem we were talking about earlier. I can't wait to meet the local journalists you have, because media, being publicly traded, they've scaled back to just keep you on a national news. And the same thing in business. Only 17 out of 100 Americans work for the Fortune 500. Yeah. The other 83 out of 100 work for small business. Yep. And whether you own a farm or a restaurant or a dental office or a dance studio, and there's not a lot of information or case studies. Anytime you read something in the press, it's going to cover Intel and Motorola and Apple and Boeing, and it's like, well, what about the little business in Ahwatukee? And that's why it's so great to have someone like you come on the show, because they need solutions for their business in 85044 and 85048, not Manhattan.
Right. It's true. And I really feel strongly that Paul Mariniak is doing a really great job of identifying some of these key business owners and new entrepreneurs and showcasing them as much as possible in the paper. And he's really turned that whole thing around. And I think you too, with the Tukeetown, could do some amazing things for our citizens. But you're talking to a lot of kids out there. You're talking about a lot of people who are doing the daily grind 8 to 5. They think they're an entrepreneur, but if they watch Shark Tank, Mark Cuban would call them a ontrepreneur. How do you get rid of the fear where they give up where right now they're just a dreamer, right?
And they're a ontrepreneur, but they actually haven't pulled the trigger and become an entrepreneur. How do you get them to go from a entrepreneur to an entrepreneur? What baby steps would you give them?
That's a great question. Well, I would say that knowledge is power. And if you don't know the next step, you need more knowledge. So go out and talk to people, go out and network, go read some books, get involved in the chamber, get involved in Young Entrepreneurs Academy, learn how to...
But can you get in the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce if you already don't have a business in commerce? I mean, how young could you be? What are the requirements to get into the Ahwatukee Chamber of Commerce? What if she was a senior at Desert Vista?
I see what you're asking. Well, if you're a senior at Desert Vista, I would encourage you to go out and explore programs like a STEM, like a Young Entrepreneurs Academy, to go out and learn how to build a business. What does it take to build a business? Which
email yayahwatukee@gmail.com
yes.
or yayusa.org. What if she was 30 and says, because I know patients who have told me this for 10 years, where I'll say, well, what's new, what turns you on, what's your passion? And she'll say, my mother has the best recipe for this genre. My dream is to someday open a restaurant, but she's still doing the 8 to 5 because where would her next step be?
Well, I think that there, again, are a lot of resources out there. Starting to read books from entrepreneurs. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan. Trade Leadership is, and Christy Wright's Boutique Business. There are a lot of tools and platforms out there available to young or any age person who has an idea, who wants to venture out and to be an entrepreneur. But there are certain things that you need to be able to do and to identify in order to establish the health of your path forward so that you do stand a chance to succeed. There are certain bits of knowledge you need to have, certain form and structure and data that you need to gather and track on your business so that you can understand if it's viable, if you are going to make money, and where to allocate some resources. And so I say reading, online forums, get involved in your local chamber. There are maker studios out in Chandler. The tech shop is a fabulous
Maker
place.
studios.
Maker studios are popping up all over the country.
What is a maker studio?
A maker studio is fantastic. For me, I walked into this place and I was like, it's so great. Do you remember when we went to school, we had to take industrial arts and home ec? Did you have to take that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was required, right? Certain things you had to do. So we worked with metals, we worked with wood, we learned how to cook, we learned how to sew, we learned how to do a lot a things.
We took a typing class. We're so damn old.
It
we
was
took a typing
typesetting.
class.
Yes. I took a radio and television class at the Career Center, and I learned to splice tape and edit the morning show that I ran on before school in high school. So many great things they had then, and now we're all under-resourced. Unfortunately, our students aren't getting access to that. So it's a combination of those things. You walk in and you have access. It's a membership-based, and they have classes, but it's also for anyone who wants to come in and use their equipment. I believe the tech shop in Chandler has over $2 million in equipment at least. Drills,
what's
saws.
the website to that?
techshopchandler.com.
I see Tech Shop WS.
Yes, that sounds about right.
What's WS? Yeah, that's... So they can go to techshop.ws.
And they're all over the country. They're starting to pop up. And but it's not just tech shops. Maker studios are popping up all over. I read Cerritos Elementary School created a little maker studio in their school this past summer for their students. So
really?
It's trying to bring those materials, those textiles, those, the equipment that using to learn to build and make things. And so it's a great place for an entrepreneur who has a product idea, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a product idea, but you need to make molds, traditionally, and I know this from working at Mattel and Activision and making die-cast collectibles, that you have to go overseas and have molds made and wait for them to be shipped over, and then it's just a huge process. But now technology has advanced so much, these studios can have mold making machines right there. So if you have a mold for a toy or a belt buckle or whatever your widget is, you can go and have your mold made there, cast your product. They've got 3D printers, everything from electrical to sewing machines to, like I said, saws, a wet saw, drills. It's a fantastic place.
They're on Twitter at Tech Shop CH for Chandler, at Tech Shop TECHSHOP.
Yep.
An amazing website.
John Barbara runs the facility over in Chandler, and I would encourage you to just walk in if you are over in that area. It's over in the right across from like the courthouse. I think that's like Chicago Street in Arizona. And there are a lot of emerging support systems for young entrepreneurs who have ideas and business plans where they can come and get some feedback as adults. A lot of that is happening in the city of Chandler. You know how they have these remote work locations where people can come in and co-locate, co-working space for those that work at home.
Right.
So those kind of have their own shtick, right, and name. And so these shops are in that vein of under the maker studio category. So it's kind of a trend across the country right now. You'll see them popping up at various locations.
My God, you're a busy woman.
I am.
Busy. What you're doing is so amazing. It really is just beyond amazing.
I think when we take the focus off of ourselves and we work on helping others, that's when really amazing things happen. And I just enjoy serving my community. I enjoy serving others. And I like solving problems. And, it makes me feel good. And it's a great body of work. And it's creative. That's what just makes my heart sing. So
I think the fundamentals of entrepreneurism is people who are naturally hardwired with empathy and sympathy. They see grandma not being able to get her wheelchair up the stairs, so they figure out a ramp. Entrepreneurism, I think the greatest entrepreneurs, they look at you with empathy and sympathy, and they just try to solve problems and try to make something to help you get through this thing called life easier, faster, higher quality, lower cost. And I think the most proud thing I am of myself personally, besides having 4 boys, Eric, Greg, Ryan, and Zach, that's obviously the greatest accomplishment, but I don't feel like I've ever, at 55 years old, I've never worked a day in my life. I mean, when I worked for my dad from 10 to 20, I mean, did I want to sit home with my 5 sisters and say the rosary and novenas and study saints? Or did I want to go to Sonic and eat hamburgers and cheeseburgers with my dad and see these gorgeous car hops and all the excitement of customers? And then when I was going to school with going to work with my neighbor Kenny Anderson, I mean, to be able to someday take an x-ray of a tooth and see right through it, and they're coming in and they're in pain, and it's like, I can fix that I can give you a shot without hurting you. And so what I advise to young people is, when you are trading your time for money and you don't like it, when you do things you don't want to do for money, it leads you down a dark path to burnout, disease, depression, coming home and getting drunk or high or trying to escape. And I think the greatest thing about entrepreneurism is like, who cares if you win or lose? Who cares if you fail? Don't you just want to get up every day and play in the sandbox and do what you want to do? And I feel sorry the most for people who have to do things all day, every day, Monday through Friday, where they're just staring at the clock thinking, I cannot wait till 5 o'clock. And then I say to that person, I say, well, what would you rather done? And she says, my grandma is the best recipe on beef stroganoff, and Ahwatukee doesn't have a German restaurant. And my fantasy for 10 years, it gets me through my life, is dreaming that I open up the first German. And I'm like, what is stopping you? Right. And fear. Could you help a person like that?
Fear.
Could you help a person like that?
I absolutely could.
Yeah, I mean, God dang.
You just have to connect with people and be willing to. I'm scared every day. I do want to admit that. I am scared every day. That's what keeps me going. Like, there are things that scare me. I mean, I'm not a completely fearless, like, bot at all. I mean, there are things that move me. I'm scared of failing, but I know I'm going to fail, but I have to pick myself back up. I'm scared of getting rejection. When I pick up the phone and call people, no. Or I'm scared of, my product failing or me failing someone else, or, these things that drive me to excel and try to be the best that I can be. So anybody who's got this idea, just know that we are all scared. We're all scared. And anyone who tells you that they're not is not being authentic with you. Everybody is scared, especially when you want to try to do something new. Moving out of your comfort zone is the very best thing you can do for yourself.
And it was our president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. We were a poor country. Japan and Germany were the richest countries in the world. He wakes up one day and they sunk half of our Navy at Pearl Harbor. And he called in the military generals and he said, what are we going to do? And he said, well, there's nothing we really can do. We had World War I and we went into a depression and we don't have an army and a Navy to fight these guys. And we just lost half of our Navy that I had. So there's nothing we can do. And he says, oh no, we're going to go after them. And the general said, we can't. And he said, living in fear is not an option.
It's not.
And nobody in Washington, D.C., not a single person in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines thought we had a chance against Germany and Japan. Mm-hmm. And we won the war. And we all die. Actually, you might not know this, but the only reason I'll ever be famous one day is I'm going to be the first person who never dies. And it's never been done before, so I thought, why not? I'm going to do it. But we all die, and we all end up in the same size casket or urn. Mm-hmm. And so if your dream is to be an entrepreneur and own that business, your net worth is always equal to your network. And no man is an island. And if you are sitting there dreaming about opening up your business, there she is.
Yep.
Talk to her.
Have these big ideas, but
how much would it cost her to just talk to you on the phone?
Nothing. Call me. I need some friends, some peers. I need to expand my network.
So what is your excuse? You can talk to Pamela for free. So call her and follow your dreams. Quit trading time for money. I would rather go to work and play for $1 an hour than get paid $10 an hour to shovel horse manure. You know what I mean?
I would rather do this.
Yeah. And you know what? And some of the greatest companies, that's a dead giveaway. Some of the greatest companies don't even pay their employees. Like Wikipedia. It was Microsoft. Bill Gates, who was going to get into Encarta. Remember Encarta was going to be the encyclopedia. And everybody thought, oh my God, when the billionaires start writing the encyclopedias, they're going to rewrite history. And little kids won't even know what the truth is. So this guy started Wikipedia and he says, I don't have the money. But he said, you know what, I bet after a long day of work, some people go to the gym. Some people go to the bar and drink. Some people come home and play crossword puzzles and do the New York Times crossword puzzles, and they like these things. He goes, I'm going to get volunteers. So you come over and I say, Pamela, Howard Farran just put on his Wikipedia page that he was a 9-time winner at what's that dancing club? What's that male dancing club?
Chippendales.
Yeah, I was the all-time winner of Chippendales. Not just global, but for the whole solar system, 9 years in a row. So they send you that deal and they say, will you fact check that? And then Pamela starts looking into it and says, in fact, he never was a Chippendale, and he's short, fat, bald, and dumb. And she edits it.
Right.
He's built up tens of thousands of volunteers. Another one
when did that start?
When Bill Gates started Encarta, I think 94. And now
the word is, it's all the rage to be crowdsourcing. But that was like one of the first crowdsourcing examples that we could draw back to from when the internet sort of emerged en masse, for the consumer. Yeah.
Another one was Alcoholics Anonymous. They don't pay any employees.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, everyone's volunteer. The number one charity. What is the number one charity? Is I think it's the Red Cross. Is it
United Way or something?
And it's not United Way. United Way has big management. Remember the guy got in trouble because he was flying the Concorde back and forth. I think it's the Red Cross where 100% of their like if you were the managing director of Red Cross for Ahwatukee, you would work for free from your home. They don't have overhead. Some of these charities are 15, 20, 25 cents of every dollar you give them goes to pay people. So what I've noticed is that there are you after work you go teach aerobics for free at the YMCA. You go do Wikipedia. You go to an AA chapter. You do this at the Red Cross. So what I've noticed is that people are the happiest when they're doing what they love, even when they don't get money. So if the disease is I can't quit my day job because I get X dollars an hour and I have to have that money, so thus I'm miserable and I'm not happy. Well, what are you doing with that money? You're buying a house, a car, vacations. You're putting all these Band-Aids on when what you ought to do. My favorite song and artist of all time was Janis Joplin when she said, freedom is when you have nothing left to lose. And the happiest kids I see in the world are in high school and college, not married, don't have a job, don't have a house, most of them don't have a car. The reason they're so damn happy is because they have nothing to lose. Okay. And then society says, oh no, you got to get married, you got to have kids, and you got to work at Intel Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 until you're 65, and then you'll get Social Security, then you'll die. And those
you got to have a high credit score, and you got to go buy and consume all these things. Yes.
So your network equals your net worth equals your network. Freedom's when you have nothing left to lose. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was considered the craziest man on earth when he said a country called America that just got out of the Great Depression could take on Japan and Germany. So freedom's when you got nothing left to lose. You're gonna die anyway. You're gonna retire in a urn the size of this coffee cup or a casket. So go have fun. Go start. And as a Ahwatukee's fat guy, I want a German restaurant that sells beef stroganoff. We can't even have beef stroganoff in Ahwatukee. That should be a war crime. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming over today. And I hope you motivated some people to go from entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs.
Sharing information.
Thank you so much.